only a couple more videos to go for Shadows over Innistrad Remastered set review now, but coming back with the green cards, all the double face stuff will be in the last video with all the multicolored, colorless artifacts. But today looking at green, so starting things off with the top row here, Aim High, Bloodbriar, Briar Bridge Patrol. Unfortunately, none of these constructed playable. We'll keep it moving. And another set of non-hits really. Bioware Courier, Clear Shot, Confront the Unknown, also not really making an impact on constructed, but a bit of a soft start here for green. Starting to get a bit more interesting. Crawling Sensation, 2 and a green at the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever one or more land cards put to your graveyard from anywhere for the first time each turn, make a 1/1 insert token. It's a bit slow, but a repetitive mill effect, and then also things that trigger with lands going into graveyards. It's interesting. Cryptolith Right, one of the first cards they previewed, and actually a pretty powerful one. 1 and a green enchantment, creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Turns your non-mana producing creatures into mana producing creatures. If you have a deck like Aristocrats, where you want to play a bunch of like 1/1s that make tokens when they die, or creatures where they have when creatures die effects or sacrifice effects, getting to use those for mana as well is super powerful. It lets you kind of combo off with like company and stuff like that, scroll through a bunch of cards. That's like the most powerful use case for Cryptolith, right? That or making a bunch of tokens. Card is very sweet. Glad to see it on Arena. Deathcap Cultivator has been downgraded from a rare to a uncommon, which is good. Appreciate that, because unfortunately it's not really up to much. It is a mana creature which then gains Death Touch later on, and so has some upside. But we have a bunch of other pretty good options in the format. Now we have Eldritch Evolution, maybe the most important green card, or definitely up there in Shadows Remastered. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. It is 1 green, and then search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, where X is 2, plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and then it gets exiled. A one-off Birthing Pod effect, but it goes 2 up the chain. One of the ways it's been getting used recently is to tutor up Greasefang out of the Absent Greasefang deck, either sacrificing something like Stitcher's Supplier or one of your other like enabler creatures. There are a bunch of other use cases for it as well. You can use it with something like Vanifar, tutor up that kind of stuff. It's great. It's great. Nulwood Dryad is a sweet one, but not super impactful. Green for a 1/1 with Death Touch, and then if you can get that 4 or more cards up to your graveyard for Delirium, it also gets +2/+2. Don't get it twisted, Nimble Mongoose has Shroud, not as good. Graph Mole, just not enough for constructed. Moving on, Grapple with the Past. 1 and a green, mill 3 cards, return a creature or land from your graveyard to your hand. It's a cool one to have in the format. There are a bunch of different effects a bit like this, but it's not like a huge addition. Groundskeeper is pretty sweet. Green for a 1/1 returns basic lands from your graveyard to your hand. If you have an outlet for discarding land cards, shout out to Molten Vortex, which we might get at one point. But yeah, nothing immediately impactful for Groundskeeper. Then Hamlet Captain is a cool human, but we have way too many cool humans at this point. Howlpack Resurgence, Intrepid Provisioner, unfortunately not doing enough for constructed. Ishkanar Graph Widow is a sweet one though, 4 and a green for a 3/5 with reach. And then if you have Delirium, when it enters the battlefield, you make 3 1/2 spider tokens with reach. Pretty sweet, clogs the board up. It's a nice way to stabilize, especially with playing a deck where you can tutor up creatures. It's a card that occasionally sees play out of like Enigmatic Incarnation, and if we see some Delirium-based decks, then maybe it crops up there as well. Next few cards here. Moonlight Hunt, we already have a bunch of effects like this. Noose Constrictor is pretty sweet. 1 and a green for a 2/2 with reach. Discard a card, gets +1/+1 at the end of turn. I've talked before about how free discard outlets have a bunch of potential, and this one here is upside. The ability with reach to block flying creatures, then also obviously when you're discarding it gets +1% at the end of the turn. It's nice. Obsessive Skinner, not really up to much, I'm afraid. Moving on down, Pack Guardian, not good enough for constructed. Permeating Mass is sweet, and it also does occasionally crop up in some sideboards. Green for a 1/3, when it does combat damage to a creature, that creature becomes a copy of Permeating Mass. It's pretty funny, but occasionally you see it as like a 1/of or 2/of that you bring in versus aggro decks. Something like humans, turning them into non-humans is hilarious, and then also obviously turns off things like Brave the Elements. Rapid Bite I believe is already on Arena, but not really good enough for constructed anyway. Next up we have Seasons Past. 4 green, return any number of cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons Past to the bottom of its owner's library. Really sweet card. There isn't really a deck for it to fit into, like, as a main deck game plan, with, like, Diabolic Tutor and stuff to keep getting it back. However, it is a powerful sideboard card just because it has the ability to bring back so many cards. So, hey, keep an eye on it. It's one of the first cards they previewed. Second Harvest is really sweet. Duplicates each token you control, but there isn't really a deck looking to do this in Pioneer Explorer at the moment. And then Spirit of the Hunt is a sweet wolf, 1 green with flash. ETB, each other creature you control that's a wolf or werewolf gets +0/+3 turn to turn. There are a bunch of good werewolves in Pioneer Explorer, but we've not really seen a werewolf deck crop up, unfortunately. Next line, Splendid Reclamation is a sweet one, but is already on Arena. That 3 and a green, return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then Swift Spinner, Thornhide Wolves, not really doing anything, I'm afraid. This line of cards is my actual favourite, I think. Tireless Tracker, which is my favourite card in Magic. 2 and a green for a 3/2 human scout. Land into the battlefield, investigate, and then when you sacrifice a clue, it gets counters. It's a nice but slow card advantage engine, and is already on Arena as well, so another kind of flag for duplicate protection. Traverse the Overworld is one of the sweetest cards, I think, in Shadow's block, and one of the main payoffs for Delirium. Green, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, and then if you have Delirium, that 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, instead search your library for a creature or land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle. So turns from a Lay of the Land, going to get a basic, into a tutor for any land or creature. Payoff is super, super powerful, bunch of use cases. The main thing is, hey, how easy is it to get those 4 card types? We don't have fetch lands, we don't have something like Mishra's Bauble, which we have in Modern, but there's still potential to get it up on the line, and I really want to get playing with it. And then the last card on this line is Uvenwald Hydra. 4 green, reach. Power and toughness equals the number of lands you control, but then when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. It's the closest thing we have in Pioneer Explorer to Primeval Titan. There are some cases where it's seen play before. Usually if you have like Silver Bullet lands to tutor for, obviously you can grab like a Nykthos, that kind of thing. There are some shenanigans, and I'm glad we have it in the format. It has also been downgraded from a mythic to a rare. And then, last few cards here. Ubermore Mysteries, it's actually pretty sweet. 2 and a green for an enchantment. When a non-token creature you control dies, investigate, make a clue. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, create a 1/1 soldier token. A bit slow, but which I mean very slow. Creatures die, you make clues, versus sweepers and stuff, you can get a bunch of cards back. We have enough similar effects that I don't think this will make an impact, but it is one to kind of keep an eye on, especially if you have a payoff that involves having lots of artifacts, so then maybe Ubermore Mysteries is the card that you're looking for. Vessel's Nascency is, I think, pretty important. Green for an enchantment, then 1 green, sacrifice it, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker from among these to your hand, rest of it goes into your graveyard. One of the important things here is that because we don't have, again, those fetch lands, Mishra's Bauble type of things to enable Delirium, Vessel's Nascency might be an important player for getting that kind of deck rolling, alongside something like State of Wayfinder. Baron Cathar, not constructed playable. And then the last 2 cards in the set here, Weirding Wood and Wilkin Bond. Weirding Wood is sweet, but we have too many effects that do this kind of thing already. That Investigate to get the clue is nice, but just a bit too slow at 3 mana. We already have things like Wolfwillow Haven. And then Wilkin Bond, obviously way too expensive for constructed. And that is all the green cards. Again, all the double face stuff, like Duskwatch Recruiter, will be in the last video, which will be coming out tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Please do subscribe if you're not already, and thanks for watching.